Well, Matt, did he pay you to call him the GOAT? I mean, I got to know this. Is that a fatherly, affectional thing?
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
We're doing shows together. You have to refer to me as the GOAT. Other than that, I'll find some other.
Absolutely, it is.
You know, Joe. Before we came on the air, we were telling some stories, and everybody was listening. You want me to get into those stories?
No.
Okay.
All right. You know, your father's passing statistics are very misleading, Matt, and I'll tell you why.
Uh-oh.
The old Giant Stadium had two doors that, listen, now you know what it's going to be, don't you?
I know what's coming.
And I'm thinking, you know, of course he played well in Giant Stadium. He never had to throw into the wind like all of us that went there as visiting teams. So one day he says to me, he says, Joe, you just got to give it up.
Yes, that is a myth that is absolutely not true. The wind blew the same way on that stadium every game of my career.
Yeah, behind you.
All right. So what's your pregame ritual? I mean, what does Joe Theismann do right before Notre Dame games to make sure that he's prepped and ready to go?
Shakes those hands where the money comes from. But go ahead, Joe.
Is that the GOAT? Did the GOAT mute himself?
Man,
you're working now.
What an amateur.
No, I'm a pro, bitch. Yeah. Everybody, you went to Notre Dame. You had a great career, the winning record. You were the runner-up in the Heisman Trophy race.
Yeah.
I love my relationship at the University of Notre Dame. They've been wonderful to me. I've sat and talked to Marcus on a number of occasions. Haven't really had a chance to sit with Al Golden, but what a job he's done with our defense. The Notre Dame identity is we're going to play great run defense, and we're going to run the football. That's what it was up to about a couple of weeks ago. Now we're going to play great defense. We're going to run the football, but don't sit on us and don't think that we can't throw. And Ohio State is not an easy out. It's probably the most complete team that Notre Dame will play for the national championship. Georgia made mistakes. Penn State made mistakes. We capitalized on them. You can only hope Ohio State makes some mistakes as well.
All right. So what's your pregame ritual? I mean, what does Joe Theismann do right before Notre Dame games to make sure that he's prepped and ready to go?
I get on a couch. I get in a chair. I'm up and down. I'm moving around. About an hour before. Phil's not laughing because he knows that's what I do anyway.
Yeah.
But when I watch Notre Dame and I watch the Commanders play, and I get much more nervous from watching it than when I played. Right. Yeah, I loved big games. I love playing the Cowboys. I love playing NFC championship games. Love playing this. You know, I felt very relaxed in that environment. Now I'm a nervous wreck. It's funny. I read the books of Don Quixote.
Yeah.
And they talk about the energy. If you go in a particular room and move around from place to place in that room, you will find one spot in that room. I'm starting to sound like Aaron Rodgers now. You're going to find one spot in the room, okay, where you'll feel a different energy.
Hey, I want to add, Joe, you know why you're more nervous when you watch the games on TV now? Because you have no control over it. I don't care where you stand in that room.
You're absolutely right. This is the thing I love about Jaden Daniels, just as a sidebar here, is his football intellect.
Right.
He understands down and distance. He understands when to get out of bounds. He understands how to protect himself. He understands how to protect the football. He has all those innate abilities to be able to play the position, not only with his athleticism, but also with his intellect.
But what do you think they got to do to win the game this weekend?
Jaden will have to be able to run the football.
Right.
I think Detroit's defense is not as dynamic as their offense, that there's opportunities to be able to make plays in the secondary, but you're going to have to be able to control it. And then I would expect that Detroit's going to try and defend Jaden on fourth down. If I look at this football game and the time of possession is equal, it's going to be tough for, I think, Washington to win.
I think the Commanders are just even if you don't think they're a great team or whatever, they're a pain in your rear end, just the way they play.
I wish they'd put together a video, just a half-hour show, Phil Simms versus Bill Parcells, okay? I think that dialogue is probably worth billions.
Forget all the ones you see. One day we're at practice, he's just Simms, effing Simms. Well, yeah, he's just on and on. I'm like, well, I'm practicing well, whatever. And finally I turned to him, I go, I'm going to clean it up. Will you just shut up? And I said, I'm so sick and tired of hearing you cry and moan about everything. And Rodney goes, ooh, Sims is mad at me. Ooh. And I'm like looking at him. I said, man, there's something wrong with you. And he goes, Sims, do you want to try to hit me? Is that what you want to do?
I remember we were doing a Cowboy game when he was down there, and one of the things that he insisted on was when you parked your cars, you parked it between the white lines. Didn't want the tires on the white lines. And so, you ask yourself, what the heck does that have to do with winning football games? And the answer was simple. It's discipline. It's funny. When you look at Dan Campbell, it's almost like his face should be chiseled on Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's that kind of a stern look. It's like, I just don't want to piss him off. I got to be honest with you. I just,
Right.
I read all of Joe's experiences and big games and Super Bowls.
Huh.
And I just remember reading it going, I'm so glad I read that because I'm never going to forget it.
If you want to get some more of Joe Theismann stuff, go read the book, How to Be a Champion Every Day by Joe Theismann, available on Amazon and other places.
Is that my coach would say, hey, Theismann, how much money do you need?
Is there a limit?
We got to get Jaden Daniels, though, reading your book on the sideline during the game this weekend. So then the sales will go through the roof.
AJ, he was sending a message to basically the coaches. Hey, look, if you're not going to let me throw me the football, I'll just sit here and do something else.
Right.
Receivers have sort of always been those, George Pickens throwing his helmet around. And, they've always been those little debutantes, I guess you could say, out there just throwing little fits and stuff like that to show the world that you're disinterested. And then the coach comes out and says, well, he's read books before. I've never seen a picture of him on a bench reading a book before. Have you?
No.
I think it's the first time I've ever seen any player in
I've never seen anybody do it.
That's right.
I remember back in the old days, I'm talking back in the 60s and early 70s, guys would smuggle hot dogs out, but that was a little, that was like a little bit of a different time in life.
We'll smoke a cigarette or two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,